Hey, it's Marina, travel experta. Today we're going to be talking about healthcare of Guatemala. Are you guys ready for an adventure? Let's begin. I first arrived to Guatemala 21 years ago in the hopes of learning Spanish. Make sure you go to my episode to learn all about learning Spanish in Guatemala, but let's focus on the healthcare. I arrived here and I got really sick to the point where I had to have my gallbladder removed. I am in Guatemala. As far as we know, being raised, in the US and whatnot, these are third world countries, but I needed a surgery. My mom was freaking out because, she's like, oh my God, you need to come back here. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it here because I'm already here. I don't want to fly all the way to the US. This is 21 years ago. I found Centro Médico. It's one of the main hospitals here. My doctor was the leading guy of Central America for laparoscopies. He spoke perfect English. I had my own private room. Not only was my doctor fantastic, the second the surgery was over, he went and he immediately called my mother in the United States to explain to her how the surgery went and to help her. Doctors in the US, even back 20 some years ago, don't do that. And today, as we progress, it gets worse and worse and worse. However, the Guatemalan system is getting better and better and better. And here's what is the reality, guys. My reality is now I've been living in Guatemala for 13 years. And unfortunately, I know way too much about the healthcare here. Why? Because my husband, my kids are extreme athletes. I've had over 9 surgeries. I've given 2 births here. When I say extreme athletes, that means they've had a lot of accidents, serious accidents, hospitalization accidents, surgeries we needed. We know too much about the healthcare. So I am definitely in the position to tell you guys this. The healthcare of Guatemala is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It is above and beyond anything that you'll ever experience in the US, even in Canada and Spain, because yes, it's socialized there. You get it for free. But here, the prices are much better, yet the care is fantastic. My husband has had 2 incredibly serious accidents where he has been hospitalized, massive surgeries. So we have been to quite a few different hospitals. The main 3 hospitals here are Centro Médico, Pilar, and Herrera Llorande. But there are also smaller private hospitals in different areas, which are amazingly great. We also went to the private hospital of Amatitlan because my oldest son had a climbing accident. I was hospitalized for 3 days there, and it was amazing. First of all, there's hardly anybody there. You get full care. We're talking like nurses running around you, doctors, top of the line, private rooms. The machinery is definitely up to date. First of all, the doctors here, and we're not only talking about hospitalization, doctors and going to a doctor appointment here in the first place. You get their WhatsApp. I can contact my doctor personally and they will respond. We used to have this beautiful, incredible pediatrician. She would even make house calls. And I remember I had her personal number. So I would call her sometimes just to ask her for help. And she was that helpful. And not only that, she didn't charge me for that ever. Sometimes if I called her and said, my son is really sick and this and that, she would help me. And then she wouldn't hear from me for 2, 3 days. She would call me and ask, how is my child doing? This is the kind of care we're talking about. You go to their office for an appointment. They will spend an hour to 2 hours with you without even giving it a second thought. The majority of the doctors speak English fluently as well if you have that issue. I do speak Spanish fluently, but I do like to know my medical information in English. They go above and beyond. They are helpful. They will call you. You can call them anytime you want. Now, about the facilities. The hospitals here are top of the line. You don't have to wait around. Here's the thing. My mom had lung cancer. She had to get half of her lung removed. My parents could afford the best healthcare in the United States. She went to Mount Sinai. She had a great doctor. I don't know if you guys know what a recovery room is after surgery, but you're only supposed to spend 2 hours in there because it's just to get rid of the anesthesia that you had before they move you to your room. They didn't have a room for her. She was stuck in there for 48 hours. Okay, this is the US system. I know for a fact that they are all about the numbers. They just want to get you out. Boom, boom, boom. Here, it's all about the care still. It might go in the other direction. It doesn't matter, but it's still about the care. And it really does show. Okay, we have had insane surgeries, and even after the insane surgery, and let's say I don't have health insurance, my husband had a horrific accident, totally broke his heel. They literally said it was an explosion of the heel. It's a huge, huge thing. He had to spend 5 days in Centro Medico, private hospital, with two massive surgeries. I remember my husband complaining that the nurses were on him too much. I wouldn't complain about that, but he had like 5 to 10 nurses around all the time taking care of him. Again, we had all this help. Everything cost, and this is an emergency, so it's even more expensive, more urgent, was $36,000. We did have insurance, so we had 60% covered. At the end of the day, it's $36,000 for all of that. I have had massive surgeries here, massive. I had laparoscopies, a lot. And the most I have had to pay minus insurance, with, let's say, without insurance, was $4,000. My oldest son had his appendix taken out here. We also stayed in a private hospital. $5,000. We always had insurance cover between 80 to 60%, 60 to 80%. Then my husband also had another accident where he broke both arms. He had to get screws. I mean, you name it. So we definitely have been around, and it's always been the same experience. Amazing hospitals, private rooms. The doctors are always available. If the nurses are always around, top of the line equipment. And those were the prices. So some people choose not to have health insurance because they still believe that those prices are lower than they would have paid in the US with insurance. Makes sense. And you can get amazing health insurance here as well. We have had health insurance. We have had all local health insurance here, which even foreigners can get without any problem whatsoever. You do not need to be a resident or a citizen. You will be covered. A lot of foreigners come with their own health insurance that is usually completely accepted in the hospitals here. When I first arrived here 21 years ago, I had travel insurance and it completely covered my stay at the best hospital. Dentistry, same thing. Unbelievable dentistry care. I have had all sorts of stuff going on here. I've had root canals, oral surgery. I mean, you name it. Again, it's not super cheap. We personally do not have dental insurance, but it is still a tenth, if not a 50th of the price that you would be paying in the States. So this is all that you need to take into account. A lot of people are like, oh, well, how's the healthcare? Private healthcare. We are not talking about the public healthcare. I don't want to go there because there's a whole other world. But private healthcare of Guatemala is phenomenal. This is where you need to come. Okay? If you're worried about healthcare, you should not be worried at all about it. It is way better than most countries today. If you guys want more help with that, I am happy to help. You could email me or go to travelexperta.com, travel expert with an A.com. And if you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please leave me a review. And remember to make every day an adventure.